Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got another 2025 rookie profile show here for you today. We're going to talk Dylan Sampson. I'm going to be joined by Jason DiRienzo, my podcast co-host. We watched the All-22 film. We broke down his Alabama game. And also on this YouTube channel, I have a film review on his Kentucky game, giving you my insight as to what I think about his game. Now, listen, this guy has been ultra productive at Tennessee. True junior, whether he actually declares or comes back to school, we discuss it here on the show. You play Dynasty, you play Fantasy, you're looking for a YouTube channel out there that's going to give you an early look at the 2025 draft class. Hit that subscribe button. Jason and I, we're going to break down his tape. What did we see? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? Where's his draft capital going to be? Is he going to be a day 2 guy, early day 3 guy? Where's he going to go in your super flex rookie drafts? And of course, we do player comps as well. We got it all for you. So let's not waste any more time. Enjoy the show. It's time for Mr. Dylan Sampson. We just watched the All-22 film versus Alabama. All right, running back, true junior. It's going to be interesting. See if he declares or comes back. I'm going to make a prediction. I think he comes back for senior year. I think he comes back for senior year. 5'10", 201 pounds. We watched the Alabama game, All-22 film, as well as the Kentucky game. So let's look at his career production. Listen, I think he, in the game versus Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken, he had 22 touchdowns. I think that's the record for Tennessee touchdowns in a season.
Yep, he's got the record.
Right. So 1,482 yards, 22 touchdowns. He has 4 fumbles on the season that he's got to clean up. Passing the game, 19 receptions, 141 yards, and 2 additional touchdowns. So he's been a productive back. But what I like to preface this is, just because he's productive doesn't mean that is a slam dunk success to the NFL. Right. So we turn on the All-22 film. Tell us what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, just starting off, as soon as he gets the ball, what I did like to see is the fact that he wasn't in a hurry to make a decision. He was patient, allowing his blockers to set up. When he did see developing gaps, you saw that initial burst and acceleration that just allowed him to ignite and get 2 to 3 yards, literally almost no matter what was taking place in the trenches because of that speed, or that initial burst, I should say. Once he got into the trenches, that's where things got a little bit interesting. Sometimes you would see him lower his pads and try to deliver a blow, but as you pointed out quite a bit, I mean, he does that thing where he kind of turns his shoulders and he doesn't stay square. So that is definitely going to be a problem. So the functional trench strength, I think, is going to cap the ceiling of potential with him, unless we also saw that when the gaps develop, he could get skinny, navigate through those gaps, and kind of string together some moves in order to break into the second level. So it's really hit or miss with him. I would say it's more so that it's going to be an issue at the next level than when we saw him actually kind of squeak through some of those gaps, because that functional strength, the lower body thickness is not there. Him needing to turn in order to try to get something out of it instead of squaring his shoulders, lowering his pads, and trying to get through the block, the tackle attempt, that is going to be a problem. But I did like the speed that I saw when he was able to get outside. Would I like to see him have better vision in some of those outside zone stretch plays with those gaps developing and making better cuts? Yes. But when he was able to get around the edge, and burst into that second level, we saw some really good long speed, and he could be a big time playmaker with some of that speed too. I don't think Tennessee used or maximized his receiving ability enough this year. I mean, I think he only had like maybe two less receptions last year playing behind Jalen Wright. So that is a missed opportunity on Tennessee's part. He's a much better receiver and pass catcher than they used of him this year. So I see a utility back. I see a guy who's going to be able to be a pass catcher, a willing blocker, as we saw some in the All-22 film that you put in there as well. But more of a type of scat back with breakaway speed, but that limited functional strength in the trenches.
Yeah. Yeah, as you know, that turning at the point of contact is something that annoys me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I mean,
and there's correlation to whether they pan out the NFL or not based on how they, lower the pads and deliver blows and stay square. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a certain threshold of physicality that's required to play in the NFL. I've seen him come to Bucky Irving a lot, right? But Bucky Irving was such a much stronger, more physical type of runner than Dylan Sampson. I encourage you guys all to, on the big board anyway, watch the All 22 film. If you're a subscriber, to take a look at it, because you're going to see exactly what we're talking about when we broke down play by play. But I think he's got good short area quickness. Sweet feet meter's pretty good. Above average for sure. I don't know if I see that, breakaway long speed. He only had 17 plays of 15 plus yards this year out of 256 attempts. That represents 6% of his touches went for, breakaway big plays, right? And I think that's
Mm.
going to have to be his calling card, because I don't think this is a guy that is going to make a living running in between the tackles. So I agree with you. He's going to be more of a utility guy with his receiving ability, his versatility. Now, we had a discussion when we were watching the All 22 film whether he's going to be a better gap runner versus a stretch, zone runner, where he's going to have to make a decision on which lanes to pick. I think we both agreed that he's more of a disciplined runner, and he's going to want to know where to go and just do the best that he can, to do that, and maybe not play off script. But I didn't see a ton of creativity in his game. And the thing that, when we talked about Woody Marks, that we mentioned also on that film, is the second level. There were times where he was approaching a linebacker
Mhm.
and had the ability to shake and bake somebody to try and get extra yards. And he just kind of lowered his pads and just took the guy on one. And at 200 pounds, I don't think that's where you're going to make your living in the NFL. That's not, I don't think, where you want to make your living in the NFL if you're 200
Right.
pounds. So, but I mean, there's a lot of people who are really excited about, Dylan Sampson, and I get it. I mean, he has been a productive back, and I think a lot of people see the yardage. I mean, like, oh, he's almost 1,500 yards, 22 touchdowns. He's got to be a stud. But that Tennessee plays in that wide open kind of, offense. And
Mhm.
so let me ask you this question about him and his
Yeah.
game. Jalen Wright, right, goes
Mhm.
to Miami, lands in a backup role. I see the same thing for Dylan Sampson. Like, I see kind of, out of those two players, which one do you think has the more explosive game and is a better long term, dynasty asset?
Right now, I would say Jalen Wright based on the evaluation between both of
Mhm,
these running backs.
mhm.
But they're different to me though. Like Jalen Wright has the ability to be a three down back. I'm not sure if Dylan Sampson is that, even though the ceiling, if he bulks up and does different things, but that's a huge projection. It's possible. I think Jalen Wright is more, currently a better projection to be that guy.
Right. So, but again, the big thing for me with Dylan Sampson is, at that point of contact, he just twists and turns and loses leverage. And I'm not sure how an NFL
Mhm.
franchise is going to look at that and be like, wow, this guy doesn't lower the pads and he doesn't stay square, and he's not going to move any piles. And like you said, his contact balance, I think, is average at best. And I think his vision is a little questionable. If the play breaks down, I'm not sure he knows kind of how to, really move off script. So, Dylan Sampson,
Brandon, real quick before we
yeah.
move on, I will say
Mhm.
this. I know a lot of people are probably like, well, you haven't seen what I've seen. Like, he has played very well in other games, but we looked at this Alabama tape. We wanted to try to get as close to NFL competition as possible. And
Absolutely.
as close as it got, we started seeing these limitations because I know I've seen a lot of the stuff that we're kind of saying he can't do. I've seen it in other games, but against lesser competition. We got to see it against as close to NFL competition as possible. This is giving us the
Yeah.
best glimpse. So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get it. And his elusive rating was 108 total. And when I did my
Mhm.
film, and I've got a film on my YouTube channel where I broke down Dylan Sampson's game against Kentucky as well. All the games against SEC competition, his yards after contact, which total was 3.6 yards this year, were all like at 3.25. And most of them were in the twos against, SEC competition, yards after contact, which
Yeah.
for me is a translatable stat that PFF provides, where you've got to get guys to bounce off you, and you've got to fight for 2 or 3 extra yards. You just can't go down at first contact. But in any case, there's people probably watching this saying, "Oh my God, the guy can't stand Dylan Sampson." I think I agree with you. I think he's going to be. We're going to get into his draft capital in a minute, but I'm just going to be, up front. I mean, I got to call it like I see it. Just not every one
Yeah.
of these backs are going to be great, regardless of how productive they are. So draft capital. I've got rounds 4 and 5. I think he's a day 3, maybe squeaks into the end of day 2 in round 3, but I see him as a round 4 or 5 guy. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think with the production and just some of the games I've watched, and I know what NFL scouts are probably going to look for. I think he is around 3. guy. I
Okay.
think the receiving ability is something that has been untapped, and that's what happened with Alvin Kamara too. He was misused, and then he just blew up when he got on the Saints. So I think there's some misusage with Dylan Sampson. I think the right coaching staff could really elevate what he can be. So
Okay.
I have a third round.
Okay. So Superflex rookie draft. Late round 2 or early? I'd see late round 2, early third. What are your thoughts?
Ugh, man, I think landing spot's gonna really be
No,
huge for
without
him.
a doubt.
Huge. I would say middle of second to late second. That's
Middle of the
that's
second
that's where I see it.
to middle to
To
late
like
second.
late second.
All right,
Yeah,
so you think he's a
depending upon landing
clearly
spot.
a round 2 guy.
Yeah, I think that PPR aspect of his game with big play potential is gonna be too much to, pass up on.
Okay. I got a comp at Devin Singletary. All right, playing. I think he's
Okay.
on the Giants now. He's kind of been
Yeah.
all over. He's on the Giants now, right?
He
Singletary?
no, Raiders?
Nah,
Where is he?
not Raider. No,
He was on Texans. He's all over the place. I can't even remember the
I
last
know. I
place
think
he
he was
was.
at Buffalo. I think he's. I don't know. I should know, but I don't. I
You
apologize.
keep talking, man. I'm gonna find
Yeah,
out.
yeah, that's okay. That's kind of similar size. I think that's his path in the NFL. I just don't see Dylan Sampson as productive as he's been. I just don't see him as a guy that is going to get a full time role in an NFL backfield. I could be wrong. Maybe I am, but I see him being a complementary piece with a Devin Singletary. It's kind of sporadic fill in, get 5, 6, 7 touches a game. In combination with another running back on the team.
I mean, I don't think that's a bad comp. Devin Singletary was highly productive in college, so there's
Mhm.
correlation with that as well, and he is on the Giants right now.
Okay.
My comp, I think the ceiling could be James Cook. I mean, if he puts it all together and, adds some functional weight like James Cook did while he's been on the Bills, he's a completely different running back than what he was when he came out of Georgia. I think the ceiling of potential could be James Cook, and I do like the fact that, Samson has shown that he could be, he could carry a workload. He's been that guy for
Mhm.
Tennessee this year. So that's good to see as well. And I think NFL teams are going to like that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, you got to give it to him. 256 carries, hasn't been injured.
That's a lot,
So
especially the guy that size. So
yeah, I'm still going to predict that he returns to Tennessee for his senior year. So we'll have to.
yeah, you know what? I think that's a good prediction too, because in that class, in the 26 class, he'll go much higher than he will in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I think where there's so many good backs in this class.
Yeah,
It'll be
that's the thing. I
interesting
think
to
that's
see.
not a bad call.
So I'll bet you $5. That's okay. All right.
I think
So
let's do it. $5.
yeah,
I like it.
yeah, there you go. All right, there is our Dylan Sampson rookie report. Hope I didn't depress all you Dylan Sampson fans. That wasn't the point. I'm just kind of telling you how
Keeping it
I
real.
see
Keeping it
it.
real.
Got to keep it real, my friend.
Yeah.